Should probably present the screen. That would be smart. All right. This is chapter Men of Science. And it was men because that's all there was at the time in science. Well, I'm sure there were some women like along the way, but they were not going to get any recognition till later. All right, prior to the scientific revolution, who did people get their information from? The scientific revolution began in the 1500s and continues even today. It is a movement that was brought about by man's desire for knowledge and a better way of doing things. For the scientific revolution, the medieval man accepted as truth the teachings of the Catholic Church and writings of ancient scholars. People did not conduct scientific experiments or question traditional beliefs. Such thinking, however, changed in the 1500s and 1600s. Scientists and educated people began to doubt many long-held ideas. Their desire for the truth led to careful research, experimentation, and important new discoveries. These discoveries added to our understanding of the universe, nature, and man himself. Pioneers of the scientific revolution studied the solar system, human anatomy, and laws of nature. These people included some of the most famous names ever in the field of science. All right, so number one was Catholic Church. What did Ptolemy believe was the center of the universe? We should kind of already know this at this point. All right, before the scientific revolution, Ptolemy, an ancient Greek astronomer, said that the Earth was the center of the universe. This belief was shared by Aristotle, a highly respected Greek philosopher and scientist. The views of Ptolemy and Aristotle were supported by the Church and by medieval man. It's thought that God put man on Earth and placed Earth at the center of the universe. The sun, planets, and stars revolved around the Earth. Man's location in the center of the universe showed its close relationship with God. The sun, planets, and stars were God's kingdom. They were made of shiny materials not found on Earth. Heaven, located beyond the stars, was where man would be united with God after death. So, Earth. All right. And now we've got the different people we have to match up. All right, so we've got, and I do believe they're all going to be underlined. And, okay. All right. After the scientific revolution, Nicholas Copernicus published concerning the revolution of the celestial spheres. It is said that the Earth was not the center of the universe. Planets, including Earth, revolved around the sun. Years later, Galileo announced the same findings after observing the solar system through a telescope. He further noticed that materials which formed the moon and other heavenly bodies were similar to materials on Earth. Galileo, the father of experimental science, urged that mathematics and experimentation be used to study the laws of nature. Both Copernicus and Galileo were criticized by the Church. The Church refused to accept their belief because it was against Church teachings and against the Bible and against what the Bible said. The Bible stated that once formed, the Earth could not move, but Copernicus and Galileo said it moved around the sun. Johannes Kepler, a famous German astronomer, eventually discovered the laws of planetary motion. He used mathematics to show, among other things, that planets have an oval-shaped, rather than circular-shaped, orbit around the sun. All right. So, all right, let's look back up here. So we got 3. We've got this one is Copernicus, so Then this one was Kepler. And Galileo was the father of experimental science. So, there it is. So make sure that you have these next to the, I haven't gotten to the other ones yet. So, father of experimental science, Galileo. Believed Earth was not the center of the universe, Copernicus. Said planets have an oval-shaped orbit, Kepler. All right, so we've got some other stuff here. So we shall continue on. All right. Before the scientific revolution, during the Middle Ages, laws of motion were thought to be different for objects on Earth than objects in the heavens. This was because heavenly objects and earthly objects were believed to be made of different substances. Heavenly objects such as the moon and stars were shiny, pure, and holy. Aristotle thought there were heavy elements and light elements. Objects made of the elements earth and water fell to the ground because they were heavy, but lighter elements, air and fire, rose upward into the sky. Some people were sure that objects moved because angels pushed them along. Aristotle's beliefs about law of motion were accepted by medieval man. So, all right, and here this thought there were heavy and light elements. This was Aristotle. All right. And I do believe there's one down here that goes with this. According to Aristotle, blank and blank would be light elements because they rise. It was air and fire. What was this other one? Microorganisms. Okay. All right. Sir Isaac Newton, a mathematician and scientist, had some important ideas about motion. Laws of motion were the same for Earth and all other parts of the universe. The law of gravity causes objects to fall to the earth. Gravity also causes planets to revolve around the sun instead of flying off into space. According to the law of inertia, an object will remain in the same place until a force causes it to move. A moving object will continue to move until a force causes it to stop. You should go into that more in science when you get to physics. So laws of motion is Sir Isaac Newton. Now make sure you realize I went ahead and put in the chat the answer to number 4. All this matching is in number 3. All right, next, father of anatomy. All right. Before the scientific revolution, doctors and university professors knew little about the workings of a human body. They depended for most of their knowledge on the word of others, especially writings of an ancient Greek doctor named Galen. After the scientific revolution, Andreas Vesalius studied anatomy, the structure of the body, by dissecting animals and human beings. His experiments showed that much of what Galen had written was incorrect. Vesalius made important discoveries about the function of muscles, joints, and internal organs. He is called the father of anatomy. Oh, man. Yeah, scam. Hang on. I'll be done in a minute, and then we can have a discussion. Or whatever. All right, let me see. William Harvey studied the heart and circulation, the movement of blood through the body. His experiments showed that blood leaves the heart, is pumped to other parts of the body, and returns again to the heart. So this is William Harvey. Father of microbiology. Well, there's only one left. All right. Before the scientific revolution, very little was known about the world of microscopic life. After the scientific revolution, Anton van Leeuwenhoek, so Leeuwenhoek, became the father of microbiology as a result of his studies of life under a microscope. Using lenses that he made himself, Leeuwenhoek was able to magnify objects up to 270 times the normal size. He examined such things as teeth scrapings, blood cells, and muscle fibers. He found that a single drop of water can contain hundreds of microorganisms, tiny animals swimming about that are not visible to the naked eye. So our last guy is Leeuwenhoek. All right, so remember again, I put for question 4, it was air and fire. Here, microorganisms are. This one. Remember, micro is small, right? So, probably should have naked eye right here. All right, anyways. That's number 5. And so that is it for this.